Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast Stuck in the Middle. And I am Palan. And thank you very much for coming to this podcast where we deal with issues of psychology, uncertainty, ambivalence. And today we are going to be discussing a very important subject about our future citizens. Why students procrastinate, why do they get tired, and what do we do about it? And to do this today, we have Hussein Abdullahi, the president of the Student Union of the University of Cyberjaya. And he is a foreign student in Malaysia and he's from Kenya. So, Hussein, welcome to the show and thank you very much. But I just want you to just think about the subject why students procrastinate.
Hello, Dr. Palan. Thank you for having me on this podcast again. Okay, if I, speaking from a student's perspective, we often have moments in our academic life and also our usual life where we feel like some of our goals are really out of reach. We don't have enough time. We are fatigued. We put things up to the last minute. Okay, and in this kind of scenarios, I can think of a couple of things, reasons why we end up reaching that stage of our study.
Yeah, well, I have been a student also many years ago in my life, and this problem has never gone off. We have always put it to the last minute.
Yes.
We just come to the last minute, and then we see how do we just get very nervous, we fatigued, we are tired. Is it because of a lack of motivation or fear?
Personally, I wouldn't say it's one of the two or just both of them, but I think that it's rooted more in a psychological aspect. Okay, it's not just a lack of motivation, even though that's one of the issues. It's not only fear of failure. It's not only fatigue. There's a couple of factors that play part in all
So,
of
what
this.
would some of the factors be, Hussein?
Okay, for example, thinking of procrastination and how we end up going up to that stage, one thing I think of is immediately how we are all seeking instant gratification.
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
So we prioritize short term mood repair, short term mental health compared to the long term, our long term goals.
Are you talking about distractions such as social media?
Yes, yes, yes. That's exactly one of the things that I'm talking about. So, for example, I have an assignment to do, but I will put it off because it won't give me as much of a dopamine high as I would like. Okay, so what do I do instead? Maybe I go talk to a friend. Maybe I go out. Maybe I sit on my phone, watch videos. And nowadays, everything is at the tip of your hands. So that is one of the thing. And one other thing that I would like to also mention is lack of motivation. Okay. Uh, Most of the time, when our tasks feel, when our goals feel distant, then or overwhelming, it's really hard to commit. So we end up thinking it's hard. So might as well just let me have a good time now, and when it's time to hustle, I will actually hustle. But then this builds up on and on and on, and it becomes.
Do you think the teachers, whether the faculty in the university or teachers or parents, should help students do some kind of planning, study planning, so that it just becomes more manageable? Would you think uh, students at your age who are with you today would kind of fancy that?
Okay. Yes and no. Yes, in the aspect that when the students are in need, they will, of course, see the point in why a lecturer or a parent or a caretaker would offer to help. Okay. However, there is another side where they feel like they are being babied, they're being spoon fed. So they'll be like, they would feel like they're not in control. of
But
their.
would you think it's spoon fed, or would you actually think about it as building habits? Because
Yes,
sometimes, parents build these habits with
yes,
children over a period of time.
yes.
I do know one of my nephews out in Atlanta in the United States of America. He doesn't like Kumon, but Kumon is basically kind of preparation, building habits. And then over a period of time, they compound. And as we say, your quality of life is often determined by the quality of habits, right?
I think it's a very good thing for parents to build up those kind of habits for their children from a really young age, and they end up carrying it up to their adult life, and subsequently their quality of life improves. So I agree with you
Okay,
completely.
okay. And but I also see that many times I see students they complain about mental fatigue.
Mental.
So is this that the curriculum is too heavy, or is it just that students don't plan? Why do students get tired, and what can we do about it?
Okay, so a couple of factors play in part in this. For example, why do we have fatigue? Okay, so it's not only mental fatigue at all times. Okay, of course, there's always the issue where the more you are mentally into something. For example, I am thinking while I'm doing my assignments. I have to concentrate in class. I have to think of what I'm going to do. I have assignments when I go back home. And I have other things which are non academic in my life,
Sure.
right? So all of this will cause mental fatigue. However, another aspect is that we tend to neglect the non mental, our physical health as well. So if we do not eat right, if we have unbalanced food, meals at really wrong times of the day, if we don't sleep right, our sleep hygiene is really not
Sure,
good,
sure.
and we don't move around, we don't exercise, we don't socialize. All of these things build up, and the only thing that all of this will lead to is constant fatigue and
Okay, got it.
underperformance.
Yeah. So, what kind of support would students need to overcome this kind of exhaustion, physical exhaustion?
Physical
Right.
exhaustion. Okay, for example, first of all, what I would like to say is that the body is a vessel for the mind. Okay, so we just talked about sleep, diet, exercise. So if for you to have a healthy brain, you have to take care of the rest of the body. What you eat, when you sleep, you need rest. Nobody is AI. Even
True,
AI maybe
true,
needs rest.
true,
I'm not an
true,
engineering student. I wouldn't
true,
know.
true.
You have to exercise as well. So these three things are really important: what you eat, how you sleep, what your sleep patterns are, and as well as exercise. And together with that is your habits, your day-to-day habits. Okay. So, for example, what type of person are you? What do you tend to do when you're under stress? Do you have a circle of friends to boost you? Are you self-compassionate? So all of these things also play part
So
in,
the circle of friends have to be the right friends, right?
yeah, the right friends, always the right friends.
Right. And so when you talk about people are exhausted, and today one of the biggest influences is social media. And people are not tired or exhausted when they go and keep on scrolling
Mhm.
the social media. So is there something that you could do to call it a digital detox?
Okay.
You just keep away on social media for a
Yes.
certain number of hours.
Okay, that's correct actually. One example I would like to give in this instance is this technique known as Pomodoro technique. Okay, this is one of the things that really helped me go through the study. Okay, all of us are addicted to our phones. All of us are addicted to our laptops, whatever gadgets we have. Okay, and let's say I have an assignment to do. So this technique helps me start off, and it gives me a reward at the end of it. So, for example, you can adjust the time to your liking, but it's 25 minutes. Most of the time, what I use is 25 minutes of studying. I set an alarm, and as soon as the 25 minutes are done, I stop and I go to my phone, do something really unrelated. And once it's
Just a break.
yeah, once the break is over, the phone is away. I do back to I go back to my studying. So you can apply this type of example to your real life as well. When you know you have other things to do, just keep your gadgets to the side just for that moment, knowing that you are going to come back to it once you have a break. And I think
You
slowly,
talked about a circle of friends.
yes,
So, how helpful would be a circle of friends in, let's say, a group study discussion? So, you
yes,
get into groups to study, and you have a circle of friends,
uh-huh,
and the circle of friends they give you the check and balance.
yes,
Well, Hussein, have you done your assignment?
uh,
Okay, Palan, have you done your assignment? And then we serve as a check and balance. Students themselves, the circle of friends, help one another. How do you think that will work?
I think that works amazingly.
Just like the Pomodoro technique, I think what
Yes,
you said is interesting. But sometimes it's not about what we know, it's about what we do.
yes, that's very true.
So when the phone is somewhere nearby, you just start looking at the phone, right?
Yes,
I
yes,
remember that you teach another student, or another student teaches you.
yes,
So sometimes they normally would say that maybe take one chapter and one student takes
yes,
responsibility for teaching to the other,
yes,
and the other does. But largely, it's not so much about teaching methodology, right? It's about keeping the focus, right? Because
yes,
procrastination means you put things off until the last minute,
yes,
and then just before the examination, you stay until
yes,
2 o'clock or 3 o'clock and try to cram. That's when
uh,
you get exhausted,
yes,
tired, and because you can only take certain amount of information, right?
uh,
So that's the key, right? Would that?
that's a very big challenge. I am guilty on the spot. I'm guilty of that as well. We have exams that are coming up, for example, and we don't do much. We just do enough to get through the assignments that we have. To go through our daily routines with classes, and then we put everything off to the last minute, and it's not a pleasant 2 weeks before the exam
But
usually.
it's something interesting. It's not just about students.
Hmm.
Even once you pass out of university, people always say that the best thing to do would be to exercise if you want to stay healthy. But not many people exercise until the doctor tells them, if you don't exercise, you're going to have a problem. And you don't study until you know that this is an examination that's coming up next week and I have to be there. Okay, so I don't know how to go and ask the lecturer. So I keep putting it off until the last minute, and then
Mm.
I get stressed. Would
Mm.
that be something that students do?
Yes, that's one of the things that, together with the lack of motivation that
Right,
we had
right,
mentioned
right,
earlier, and there's an aspect of fear of failure. Students tend to set
right,
unrealistic goals, or
right,
they tend to be perfectionists. And
right.
once they see that they can do this specific task now and get to the standards that they have in their mind, then they tend to put it off. And then together with that, there's also the distractions. All of these things play part, and we end
You
up
said
doing.
students want to be perfectionists, not all students, right?
Yeah, not all students, but we
But
tend to
why,
be.
why, why is that craze for perfectionism?
Uh, the thing with us is, for example, sometimes we are competitive. I'm speaking
Right,
from my point of view in this
right,
instance.
right.
So we tend to want to have the best grades. We want to have the perfect assignment. We want to get all the compliments we need from the lecturer or whoever is
Mm-hmm.
in charge of supervising us, and we want to please them. So this builds up to us wanting to have the perfectionist approach to everything. Okay, and also the way the lecturers talk to us, the feedback that we get. So if I go out to, for example, a doctor, and I tell him about a certain case that I have seen today, he will always have something to say. Okay, and what do I do when I go back home? I want to make sure that tomorrow he doesn't have the same feedback. He gives me a better rating.
Mm, mm.
So that just builds up, and once you realize, oh, I'm setting unrealistic standards for myself, I need to take a
Right,
step.
right. So I just wanted to say, as we come to the last few minutes of the podcast, Hussein, procrastination and getting tired might look like impossible obstacles to overcome for a young
Mm,
person.
mm.
But you and your colleagues in the University of Cyberjaya Student Association are looking for ways and means to improve student experiences in the
That's
university.
true.
So how do you do that? How are you doing that?
Okay. Mostly procrastination and mental fatigue or physical fatigue is usually most of the times based on the academic life of the students at the university. Okay, so we try to address that, and we also try to address the extracurricular aspect of their life as well.
A balanced life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we try
Okay.
to involve students in a well balanced scenario. So, for example, in academic setting, we often have uh, times or events where we help students to get to know each other,
Okay.
make friends who are from the same course, who will help build a buddy system, for example.
Support one another.
Support, yes, build support, and eventually they not only become their academic friends, but they eventually become people who are going through the same journey and can help each other. And as for the non-academic part, we try to ease the minds of students by giving them fun things to do. So, for example, I think I have mentioned this to you before that we had a mental health awareness run
Sure.
earlier
Well-being.
last month. Yes. So that's one of the things we bring students together, and you know what? Let's create awareness about mental health. Mental fatigue is included in this as well. We hold events at the university where there is games, singing, dancing, anything to make them feel enlightened, to distract them from their daily activities, academic activities that they have to constantly think about. They have to, uh,
So, in other words, what you're really saying is let's
yes,
have a balance.
yes, exactly.
Academic is very important, but you also have the extracurricular
Yes,
activities in order to find the right balance.
that's true.
So, as we address three questions: why students procrastinate, why do they get tired, and number three, what can we do about it? So, as we come to the close of the podcast,
Hmm.
if there were three things that we should do, of course, I liked your Pomodoro technique, but let's say that if there were three things that you like to leave for your fraternity, the student fraternity,
Hmm.
to overcome student procrastination, what would the three things be?
Okay. One thing would be take care of your health. Take care of your body. Your body is a temple, as they always say. Okay, that's number one. Number two is set realistic goals and work slowly towards them. You are not alone, and everything is manageable.
Sure.
But you do not need to bite more than you can chew.
Okay,
That's
sure.
number two. And number three is have self compassion. So what I mean by that is being a perfectionist sometimes is not the best thing for a student. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to be lenient on yourself when you are going through a rough patch.
Sure.
Okay, everyone goes through a rough patch,
Sure.
and tough times never last. So
Tough people do.
yeah, tough people do. And how do you become tough? By going through tough times,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay.
So you will get there. This will help.
Sure.
Being more self-compassionate will help you be
Sure.
more resilient, will help you reduce this mental fatigue and body fatigue that you're going through. And it will eventually lead
Sure.
to high performance.
So, what you said is number one, of course, remember the Pomodoro technique. Do what you need to do, and then you reward yourself
That's,
so that you continue to move in a consistent way towards your goals. But the three
that's
things you
true.
said: number one, be physically active. That's what you said.
Yes,
You
that's true.
need to
Take
be
care of your
physically
body.
active because a physically active person is mentally active, right?
That's true.
Number two, you said set realistic goals, right?
Yes.
Set realistic goals. And the third one you said is self compassion, which is basically self care. and I think lead a balanced life. Well, thank you so much, Hussein, for joining me and sharing the perspective of students on how to overcome procrastination and how to overcome getting all the time tired, and sharing some ideas on what can we do in order to help students. I think we value very much the work that you do as a president of the Student Association in the University of Cyberjaya. And I hope you've had a good time in Malaysia, because you're all the way from Kenya. And thank you so much. And just before we go away, folks, remember to hit the bell icon and subscribe to the podcast so that we could share these ideas to like minded friends. Thank you. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Thank you.